Today, this is breaking. President Biden announces student loan forgiveness, and this comes from abcnews.go.com, so you know it's legit. And their caption here says, part of it centers on canceling loans for those who make less than $125,000. Did you catch any of this speech? It just happened like an hour ago.
I didn't catch any of this speech. I've just been reading like you. I've been on kind of work calls all morning, so it's been tricky, but I've been seeing the Twitterings. I've been clicking on the articles. It certainly seems that this is, once again, so it's canceling debt for people that already have a pretty good amount of money, right? $125,000 income is pretty good.
I'd take it.
And he wants to cancel for anybody below that number. Now, I would argue that if you're
I don't even think that's true. I don't even think that's true. I think what he said regarding
it's 10,000,
was like,
right?
He will only pardon people if it's like, if they agree to, like, they have to be below a certain bracket and they have to agree to go into like public service after. So they have to be basically like, it's like militarizing everything. It's militarizing college. Like, we'll give you free college as long as you go around and I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I saw something about the GI Bill floating around, but again, I couldn't get into the context of it, and since it just got announced, I didn't see that. I just saw something about 10,000 versus 20,000. It's 20,000 if you have a Pell Grant.
Yeah, and there's several different layers and brackets, and the 10,000 is like people under a certain income get 10,000, but they're acting like, I just like that this headline says part of it centers on canceling, like, that's not even accurate. Like, as they're typing it out, they knew it was a lie, but
oh, of course not. And all these people are carrying water for Biden, as we all know. But also, here's the thing: none of them are talking about how this is essentially, when you think about it, at least to me, you're bailing out an industry, right? Just like with the banks, that's making bad loans.
Yeah.
All this is a government bailout because you've gotten government back in the loans, just like they did with, Freddie and Franny back in the day in the 2008 crash. So you got the government back in loans, and now you've got them bailing out an industry that exists solely on the government backing of those loans that has basically gotten too big to fail, right? Because all these kids are taking out bad loans, they can't pay them back. And so the colleges are going, well, what the fuck?
Right.
But in the meantime, it's a system that is broken. It needs to fail, much like the banking system, so that we can actually have better rates for tuition, better people going to schools, and not just give out these loans and keep growing it.
And yet, so we can realize the whole thing is a sham. So we can realize that it has zero value for 90% of the people that utilize it.
Right. Well, that too. And it's like, I mean, it's also, people have described it accurately, I think, as a wealth transfer from the poor to the rich. And that's what I would argue it is. Because like you said, if $125,000 or less, okay. For people that are already going to college, okay, great.
Right.
So, but what about the people that aren't going to college that are just getting hit with the inflation?
Right, exactly. We're going to be taking out loans to cover their student loan debt, and we're going to have student loan debt for, college that we didn't even receive. But I was watching a little bit of coverage of it, and we'll just watch like the first 2 minutes of this because I just think it's interesting the way they're talking about this already.
President Biden wading into a tricky political issue that some Democrats warn could even backfire politically. The hot issue of canceling student loans, which constitute the second highest percentage of household debt ahead of credit cards and second only to mortgages. The White House plans to cancel $10,000 of student debt for borrowers who make less than $125,000 a year and $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients, despite a last-minute appeal from Majority Leader Chuck Schumer overnight to do 5 times as much. Mr. Biden is only extending this pandemic-era moratorium on payments up to $10,000 for people earning less than $125,000, leading to criticism from Republicans that it's too much, too generous, too elite, and many Democrats who say it just doesn't go far enough. So joining us now.
All right, who cares? I just like, well, it's funny that it's like getting backlash. Of course, it's like Disney putting out a new Star Wars movie. It's going to get backlash from everybody. Like, you can't make anybody happy in this case. And it reminded me of something that I thought was relevant. Like this next clip, I think allegedly is footage of the conversation that they had leading into this press briefing or this announcement of the student loan stuff.
God's taught.
Has it really been 10 years? Local businessman pledges college tuition to third graders.
Michael,
Dude,
why did you promise that?
Oh wait,
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna
That's
say,
pretty much
isn't this the episode that they no longer will air
I don't
of The
know.
Office?
I don't think
Because
so.
there's a couple of episodes that I know they no longer will air, and I thought that was one of them because it was
Diversity Day
like
was the main one.
which one?
Diversity Day, which was like the second episode where they're like,
Oh yeah,
go around, pick a diversity class, and put it on your forehead, and a bunch of stereotypes.
right.
But
I thought maybe because it was like underprivileged kids, that was the other one. Because I've only seen that episode one time, and I've said The Office is literally on 24 hours a day.
yeah,
Every day somewhere, and I've only seen that episode with the little Michael Scott overachievers third grader tuition one time ever. So I think they are fucking quashing it.
I've always
that
watched
reason.
it on streaming services. I've got it on Vudu now, and still watch it on repeat always. But
Yeah.
it is one of my favorite shows. But it really reminds me of that, where it's like you know that it kind of goes to everything that Biden promised on the way in. It's like, oh, we're gonna get rid of all the cops, and we're gonna open up the borders, and we're gonna give you free college, and then you find out that. What he means by getting rid of all the cops is literally we need to give the cops more money and make the cops more bigger, and we're not finishing the wall. We're not continuing the wall. We're just cleaning up the mess by putting more bricks on the wall. And now this, which is like we're getting rid of student loan debt, which means here's like a laptop battery. Here you guys go. There's your college tuition. Anyway, your thoughts?
I mean, you're right that it is funny in that it's almost an insultingly it's almost. I would argue that he shouldn't have done anything.
Right.
I'm actually on the side of it only is good for pissing off both sides of the
Yes.
aisle because, like to Chuck Schumer's point, of course they want 5 times more. Of course they want full student debt relief, and honestly, 10 grand, great. I mean, that's
And that's what they were promised. So why not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you ran
exactly.
on. That's your problem, Scott.
Exactly. But fuck, man. Yeah, he's put his foot in it. And people will obviously point to it and say, we can't afford it right now, which we can't.
Right.
But then they'll juxtapose it as they should. And this is where Tulsi Gabbard, she was good on some things, bad on some things. She wanted to do a lot of student loan forgiveness and aid and climate change bullshit. But she at least said, we got to balance it out by taking it out of the military budget, right?
Right.
Fair enough. I'm not for it. I'd rather just cut the funds, but at least you're trading it off as something, not Biden. Biden's like, guess what? We just gave $3 billion more to Ukraine. Let's add on $300 billion more for student aid relief. It's like, you got to balance it out somewhere, guy. But apparently, no need. I don't even know how is it even constitutional? How does he even have the executive authority to do this going around Congress? Because I didn't see a vote taken. Did you?
It does not matter at all anymore. It's just you just print money and hand it out to whoever wants it.
I'll make questionable decisions.